Hey guys, my name is Sam and welcome to Prep Medic. This week's video, we are doing a full walk around and walkthrough of my agency's Special Operations Response Vehicle. So I apologize for the noise. It's kind of hard to find a place in this city that isn't incredibly noisy or incredibly busy. I hate filming around people, so this is going to have to do. Behind me, we have our Special Operations Vehicle. Now, I function on a TEMS team here in Colorado, which means we are a tactical EMS unit that responds to all SWAT callouts with 2 relatively high call volume teams. We also go with search and rescue up into the Rocky Mountains, and then we attach to dive rescue, and we kind of go along with many high angle scenes that happened in our territory. So this week, we're gonna be going through this vehicle, kind of talking about what we have on it, what we don't, what our mission set is, and going from there. So as far as response model goes, we are an on-call team, which means that every month we have to take a certain number of on-calls. We go pick up this truck at the station, and then we drive it around until something happens within the county that we have to respond to. The truck itself is a Chevy quad cab. We have a lot of space in the cab itself to carry our personal gear, and then in the back we have a custom roll cage that does give it patient transport capabilities, as well as more of the supplies and equipment that you would expect to find on any street ambulance within this district. So let's start with the front of the truck and more of my personal gear, and then we'll move to the back and show you what we have going on. So there's gonna be a lot of things in this truck that you guys are thinking, wow, that's pretty underwhelming from what I thought. You know, we're not just doing high-speed missions. A lot of what we do is relatively routine. So in the door here, we have some sunscreen, always important, especially for search and rescue calls. We can be out for, you know, a day or even longer looking for somebody. You need to have a way to protect yourself. We've got an old mag light. We've got a reflective vest in here for anything high vis that we need to be doing, whether we're setting up a landing zone for an aircraft, or if we just come across a car accident or something like that, we might have to, you know, put on the vest, stop traffic, anything like this. Like you saw, this thing has a full complement of lights, and like I said, it is completely loaded out like an ambulance. So we are able to care for people in a variety of different circumstances, not just the tactical environment. All right, in the front seat also, we've got a tub of water and Gatorade. We'll talk about it a little bit more in this video, but this vehicle is pretty much equipped to operate for 2 weeks straight. So we've got a lot of water in here. We've got some water filtration stuff as well. We also have a lot of MREs in the back, and that's for fire line deployments. If we're going up for 2 weeks, helping with evacuations, anything like that, we need to be able to sustain ourselves and not be a drain on the system around us. In the front seat, I usually, when I get on shift for my on-calls, I'll take my vest. So got my plate carrier here. This is level 3 armor with rifle plates, level 4 rifle plates in it. This is the First Spear CJAR optimized. And then I did a video about this pack here. This has all our stuff for like entry operations in the tactical environment, and then some additional stuff as well. You've got our Motorola portable radios on here, and I can take this out, put this in my SAR pack if I need. And then in addition to that, we've got our helmets that we'll keep up front. And this is just for like really quick donning. So if we're responding to an emergent incident that's going on, they're doing an emergent deployment of the SWAT team, we can be all kitted up in the front seat of this vehicle without really even getting out. So that's what I keep in the front. Now, talking about the vehicle itself, we've got the light panel up top, and then we've got a base station Motorola radio as well as our crew phone. So most of our pages come over active 911. It's just how the county has it set up for us. So if there is a SWAT call out for either of the teams or search and rescue or what have you, that will be an alert on active 911. We all have it on our phones in case they need multiple TEMS medics, but then primarily we have a crew phone for the on-call individual in this truck. All right, so the back seat is more of the same. It's more personal gear for us, and then any on-call medics are just gonna throw their stuff in. So first and foremost back here, I have my hiking pack for SAR. Now this looks really huge right now. This is a Mystery Ranch TerraFrame, which means it can take an oversized load. And in here, I have a rescue helmet, just my cold weather clothes, because even right now it gets pretty cold in the mountains. It's not gonna be long before we're in a winter environment, and we do have to be able to spend the night with patients. I have a bivvy and just some other random things in here. And then I've actually attached my medical kit in here, and this is what we take for both SAR and SWAT calls. So in this, all I have to do is I have to loosen this out and I can pull the pack itself. Now this is a Tasmanian Tiger medic bag. I've gone through the loadout a little bit in here, but as you can see, as we open it, I have everything to treat a patient for a short period of time. So we've got pelvic binder, warm wraps, I got an Easy IO, all my vital stuff, emacapnography, everything to do a crike or bag somebody if we need to, and then I've got like some basic meds up here. In the lid here, I've got a little bit more pharmacology for those hyper-emergent medications, but it's definitely not everything we carry in an ALS kit. A lot of people ask me about buying our own gear versus being issued gear. We all get issued gear, everything we need to operate on this team. However, if we feel like we want to do something a little bit different or upgrade that equipment, we can go out and buy it and load it out as long as it meets certain specifications. So a lot of this is gear that I've just accumulated having had this channel for a decent amount of time. The only other thing back here is going to be my gear duffel. Now this has everything extra that I might need. So I've got changes of clothes, shower wipes, cold weather stuff, warm weather stuff, everything that you might need to just spend a couple nights out in this truck if need be, as well as just kind of miscellaneous gear here and there. And that just sits in the back seat. We do have paperwork for like fire incidents or anything where it's a FEMA related incident where there's a lot of paperwork to be filled out, so we can do all of those requests and orders in this truck. We also have a bunch of triage tags in the unlikely event we are going to a mass casualty incident. Contrary to common belief, TEMS teams are not usually a active shooter resource. Now we'll definitely respond if there's an active shooter in the city or in our district at all. However, our primary responsibility is the SWAT team. So we'll go in, we'll help people in that active shooter, but generally this city will deploy a rescue task force to start evacuating people from the active shooter scenario. We'll help with that, but that's not our primary role. All right, so coming to the back of the vehicle and kind of what makes this truck unique and something that I think is pretty cool. You'll notice we have a standard utility topper on this thing. You know, we're not undercover or anything like that, but we are low profile. We don't like to be the most, you know, out there vehicle responding to these incidents because we're in a support role most of the time and we're not trying to draw a ton of attention to ourselves. So opening this up though, it is far from standard. So back in the day, we had a mechanic that was big into custom fabrication, and he actually welded a full roll cage back here to keep us safe. Now, we try not to transport patients in here. We'll call city ambulances to come help us transport. If we absolutely have to, we definitely can. We have the capability of putting scoop stretchers on either of those, and we've got enough seat belts to keep them secure and safe. So this is an extra safety measure that we'll hopefully never need. Up top, we have some LED lights. It can be 2 white lights or a blue light if we're trying to not, you know, spread light outside the vehicle too much. Either side, we have these doors that open up, which is really nice on some of these wildland deployments where, you know, we're routinely taking blood pressures and checking people out back here. We can get a little bit of airflow. It just makes it a ton nicer. And then beyond that, this thing has 2 fans. No air conditioning, but it does have a heater for the winter or severe trauma patients that allows us to take care of them and thermally regulate them. As we come through here, this is kind of an awkward one to film, but we're going to start with the things under the seats and kind of what we got, and I'll talk through them and splice in some B-roll to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So first and foremost on this side, you know, obviously we're not hiking with cardiac monitors, right? They're pretty heavy, they're pretty big, but we still, like I said, have the abilities of any ALS ambulance. So here we have a Zoll X-Series monitor, pretty common monitor to be used. We have an extra battery back here, so this thing's battery life will last a long time, and then we have a charging cable in the front if we have to use it. We swap these batteries out pretty much every week to make sure they're always charged and ready to go. Now this monitor has the ability of taking 12 lead EKGs, so we're diagnosing heart attacks. And this is for people that don't know, of course. And then it can do pacing, so it gives an electrical impulse to keep the heart beating. It can do manual defibrillations. It can also do synchronized cardioversions. So there's a lot of abilities with this, and it can also just take a full set of vital signs and we upload that right into our patient chart, which saves us a lot of time, especially if we're sitting with somebody for hours on the mountain waiting for extrication or rescue or SAR, whoever that might be, coming to get us. We don't have to go in and manually type in 10,000 pieces of vitals. So that's secured under the seat here. You'll notice both these seats have this webbing that just keeps everything in place while we're driving down the road. This thing is driving on pretty rocky terrain a lot of times, so it's pretty easy to get it done. Now over here, we have the med bag. So this has your standard ALS medications. So this bag right here will have all our ACLS meds. It's got pretty much everything that you would need besides the narcotics. So narcotics are kept secure in this vehicle, locked up, and then if we're ever away from the vehicle, we keep them on our persons to avoid anybody stealing them or tampering with them. So we have a little bit of everything. And once again, these meds are checked pretty regularly to make sure nothing's expired, and the truck is kept relatively cool whenever it's stored. On this side, you'll see we've got a couple mega movers, just because moving patients is kind of the name of the game. And then we also have a pair of relatively old snowshoes. Believe it or not, it snows a lot up here in Colorado, and we have to be able to make access to people. All right, so coming back a little bit farther into the truck, down here we have a O2 tank, and this guy has a small cylinder O2 tank as well as all of our respiratory medications in it. So, you know, our epi, solumedrol, things of that nature to treat respiratory emergencies, anaphylaxis, COPD, CHF, things like that. You would be amazed at the number of people that have a cardiac condition that decide to go and hike up to 14,000 feet a day after arriving here from Atlanta. So you probably see me sweating a little bit. It's like 100 degrees out here, and I had to find a place to film that was kind of out of the way. So I'm just absolutely baking, and I've got the truck off so that the audio quality doesn't suck completely. So on this wall, we've got another O2 tank. We don't have a full house tank in here just because we have no way to safely secure it. And it just adds a lot of space. So obviously that can present some logistical problems, but once again, we are in a pretty robust system that can call for extra help at a moment's notice, and there's always an ambulance available to come grab us. All right, so more about kind of what we got under the seats. Under here, we've got a PediMate, so that's to safely transport pediatric patients. Down here, we've got a Ready Heat, or sorry, Hawk Advanced Hypothermia Management Set. So this guy here, hypothermia is huge, especially for us in this environment. So this is easy to throw in our packs, take to patients, and then we can open up different cells and keep them warm for a long period of time with this guy. Coming down next to it, we have this bag here. And this is like our wildland firefighting equipment. So in here, we've got helmets with a light attached, and then we also have 2 fire shelters as well as is required for Fireline, pretty much anything. So we have these in here. Now, I will say we don't spend a ton of time hiking. We will hike with crews if they need it, especially when it's the initial attack module or something like that in our district. When we're going out for a full deployment, usually we are staged somewhere and kind of back, but we do need to have those fire shelters on us at all times. Not too long ago, I was on, well, I guess it's almost 2 years ago now, I was on a fire line, and we spent 2 weeks out there in the middle of nowhere. It was kind of a fun time. If you're looking at wilderness medicine of any kind, like that's a great place to start. There's a ton of opportunities in fireline medicine. So that just goes under the seat, not super pretty. In this bag here, we've got our water rescue stuff. So basically we have our water rescue helmets, and then we've got 2 sets of life jackets with beacons, knives. We're not actively participating in the rescue most of the time. We are there for medical support, but we have all the equipment to go on a throw boat if we're going across the river, or help the team out if they need anything. Obviously, these teams like search and rescue, dive, all of these teams are volunteer agencies, so sometimes they have trouble getting people, and that's nothing against them, but we can kind of step in and be extra hands for them wherever possible. So this guy right here kind of just sits on the seat. It's pretty soft, so if it bangs around back here, that's all good. We've got a scoop stretcher here. Patient extrication's huge, and scoop stretchers are great because you can take them off them pretty quickly, but they can also act as spinal immobilization if you want to use them for that. As we look at the other side of this guy, down here we've got, I don't know, 12 MREs. I think, like I said, we have to be self-sustaining. It's always good to have food, support people. You know, even if you're on a law enforcement call out for, 12 hours, those guys need to eat, and this isn't ideal, but it's some energy that they can get. We've got a pediatric bag that's set up in the hand-heavy system down here. I'm not going to go through it. Not something we use on this truck very often. And here we have all the maps for our district. Our district is huge, and we have a lot of mountainous space as well. We've got a bunch of tools. We've got like bolt cutters to get through like fence line, things like that. And then we have like a Halligan tool for some basic entry techniques. Obviously, we're not carrying like the big entry tools or anything like that, but we have enough to make entry on most structures and areas if we absolutely have to. All right, so the last thing in here we're going to talk about is this main bag here. So this is set up identical to our street ambulances besides the Mega Mover on the front. So Mega Mover on the front if we need it. In the top pocket here, we've got our vitals equipment, glucometer, vomit bags, trauma shears. And this isn't like a full walkthrough of these bags, so I'm going to kind of skim over this quickly. In the one side compartment, we've got like our trauma supplies. So we've got our quick clot bandages, we've got 4 cat tourniquets, a bunch of ARS needles, chest seals, as well as some acrylics and some other things to secure bandages. And like I was talking about before, this is more of like our ALS kit. So this isn't what's coming into like a SWAT call out with us. This is for once we get a patient out. This is everything we need to do the more advanced things that can be done in that en route care. So in here we've got some belongings bags, biohazard bags. We've got some basic ACLS meds right here, and then we've got like our most common meds that we give. So oral Zofran, nitro spray, aspirin, albuterol, Duoneb, epi, diphenhydramine, and glucagon back here. And that was just kind of a research thing they did for us, and just saw like, what are you guys giving? Okay, we're gonna put those meds in an easy to access place so you don't have to dig through your entire pack with them. All right, so front pocket here, up to this side, we have a full IV kit. So this has a bag of saline, another bag of saline back here, everything we need to start IVs on patients. And then in here we've got a pressure bag for our IOs, stuff like that. And then last but not least, we'll come to this pocket. And this pocket has our airway roll, and it's got our video laryngoscope as well as a adult BVM. And then we've got our IO kit down there as well for interosseous meds. And in the lid here is the blades for our video laryngoscope that we use. So that is everything that is in this bag. And then of course this is supplemented by the airway bag and the medication bag we have in here, or the pediatric bag if we're using it. So we have a large complement of equipment. Forgot one thing, we have a old school hair traction splint for our femur fractures in there as well. I hope you guys found this video helpful or at least entertaining. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you next week.